So the first thing we're going to do here is get a gray tone going, and we want to make sure that we've got like a value that is going the right direction. The wood grain goes in a certain direction. So what we're trying to do is measure the angle of that direction and shade it in. So you'll see me using my pencil. As long as the two papers are parallel to each other, you can use your pencil to kind of shade in the direction that the wood grain is going. This wood grain is going into like a 1-point perspective, and we might do a 1-point perspective drawing sometime either this week or next so that you know what that means. But that wood grain is going back into a 1-point perspective so that it looks like the table is going back away from us. So us putting that wood grain in the correct angle is going to be important to the illusion of making this look like a real glass. So right now I'm going to blend all those gray tones in so that I have just a base gray to be able to build light and dark off of. And now I'm looking at where the light happens within this piece. So in order to find the thickness between that lighter spot and the bottom edge of the glass, I measured off to find the sizing on it, so I knew where it would start. So I measured it off and compared it to our known object, and then now I'm finding like the edge of the glass and the space between that dark edge and the edge of the glass. I'm starting to work my way up and kind of build that shape that I'm seeing, and I'm really paying attention to like the negative space between like the edge of that darkness and the edge of the glass, like looking at how it curves and what the line does, what type of line it is. And now I'm gonna build some value into that area, kind of slowly building it. I don't want it to go to full black. I want it to be a building of that gray tone. And I'll keep tweaking it and I'll keep changing it until I can get it the size I want. I want to see how far over it comes. I notice it comes more on the right hand side of the glass. So I just kind of look at where that spacing would be on my drawing, even though my drawing has the same proportions, it's a little bit bigger. So I want to see where that would be on my drawing as well. I'm kind of comparing the two, and I'm constantly comparing the shape, constantly comparing like the edge and the curve that is there. My eyes just kind of go back and forth between the two, and I just keep tweaking it. I actually end up making more wrong marks than right, but like in that process of doing that, I end up finding the right line. So sometimes making a whole bunch of wrong lines to find the right one is okay. Here I'm checking the angle of that edge. As long as these two papers are parallel, I can do that. I'm kind of comparing that edge again, sketching it in. And now I'm checking that thickness again against my known object, which is the opening of the glass, and doing the comparison over here to make sure it's the same proportions. And here I'm going to build in the gray tone. And I sped this up a little bit so that it'll move along for you guys. So I am not shading that dark, that quickly. I sped it up so that you guys could see that section. And then here I'm starting to kind of look at the shape, build it with my eraser and my pencil. Change it as I need to. I don't get all upset if I get it wrong. I just keep changing it until I get it closer to right. Looking at the space in between spaces, because I want to try to get that as close to possible, or as close to right as possible. And now I'm blending with my blending stump to kind of get that smoother. You can also use a Q-tip. Q-tips are really nice for getting in small little nooks and crannies, but I've got a little bit of that paper towel that I still have built from the other day. And now I'm continuing to build that lighter shape with my eraser. Just kind of looking and tweaking at where it needs to be pushed and pulled with darks and lights. And I just continue to keep doing that, getting as close as possible to like my drawing or my photograph resource. And some areas are really dark in that shadow, and then some kind of fade out into like a lighter gray. So I'm trying to be careful not to go too awful dark in the lighter gray areas. And then I noticed that this pushed darker, so I just kind of hit it a little bit. I'm using my Q-tip to kind of blend. Sometimes that Q-tip can get up into like a small spot easier than like the blending stump that I created. So I don't know if you guys have those at home, but they're handy little tools. Starting to look at like how thick this line is down at the bottom, how thin the edge line is, trying to get it closer to right. Building up that darkness without it just jumping into light. I want it to like gradually fade. So I'm trying to do that very slowly so that it looks a little bit more natural. And I keep building just as much with my eraser as I do my pencil.